Welcome to the Evening Review. My name is Sukhane, and joining us in studio is the National General Secretary of the Namibia Bus and Taxi Association, Mr. Pendapala Nakathingo. But before we go into that interview, we'll go for a short break.
Got me feeling fresh. 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 Got me feeling
Welcome to the Evening Review, Mr. Nakathingo. How are you?
Very good, sir. How are you doing?
Fine, fine. The Ministry of Mines and Energy recently announced a historic fuel price increase, both for diesel and petrol. What is your reaction to this massive price increase?
You know, that increase of the price of the fuel, you know, it is something really that has hit hard the sector, meaning the public transport sector. And it is something that really have to be taken into serious consideration. So, you know, since the buses and taxi operators, they've been struggling for, you know, quite some times then after being hit by COVID-19, and you know really that sector is one of the sector that has been less privileged. So when it comes to the Namibian economy, and you know, as we said that we call it is an informal sector, it's not yet formalized. We are now striving to formalize it, but as we speak now here, that increase, it is really a concern.
How do your members feel about this price increase? Excuse me.
They are really, you know, nobody can feel good. As I'm telling you, the members are very shocked. They are very much concerned how are they going to survive. And as the organization representing the public transport sector in Namibia, we are now already busy working on all that we can do to see how best we can now, rescue our members, being the members of the public transport sector. And, you know, as Nabta, you know, it's a national association that is representing the members and non-members per se, because, you know, as per our recognition by the government, we are catering for all that are operating within the transport sector. So, and you know, we are operating between the public transport operators, the passengers being the public, and the government, you know, as the custodian of all the services in the country. So what we're trying to do is that we have to take all necessary steps, but we have to consider engaging our government to see how best the government can understand this seriousness of fuel increase, which is now, for the first time, maybe, if I'm not mistaken, to increase with such an amount. So, you know, the buses and taxi are people that are really suffering. I'm telling you, they have got no ways and means other than collecting some fees from the passengers. There is no subsidies received from the government, no any other funding that the sector is receiving. So therefore, really, this increase, it is, you know, really a concern.
Are you having discussions with government to look at a solution in terms of either giving you a price increase or giving you some sort of subsidies? Are you in favor now at this point? What is being discussed on the table?
You know, the National Executive Committee of Nabta, where I'm part of, we are now busy considering the fact that what kind of approach that we have to take now to the government. We are considering of requesting the government to see whether they can give us any fund in the sector, or maybe the government can consider giving grant to the public because the public are the passengers and they are customers of buses and taxis. So either one of the two. So those are some of the areas that we try to see, because if you subsidize or fund the bus and taxis, it means that at least you have relieved the passengers in terms of the increment. And again, if the government sees it's not fit to fund the sector, being the public transport sector, and then it might consider giving the grant. But giving a grant to the public, it might be too much costly other than funding the sector, because the public, it is not easy to know who are those people using buses and taxi services. But it is very easy to identify who are those in public transport sector or providing public transport services to the passengers. So therefore, those are some of the consideration that we are now taking on the table now. Again, there are many calls we receive from the transport operators, especially those who are operating in the northern regions, that why can't we engage the government so that we can have a discussion with the Angolan government coming to those price fuel of Angolan fuel. It is very far less, very, it costs so less comparing to our fuel price.
Yes.
So now those are some of the calls that we receive from the members, so that we can take into consideration and should we take this approach to the government, so that we can propose or introduce this. And we have taken it into account that yes, those are some of our consideration, because we've been taking into consideration some ways back that it is some of the options that we can look at. We don't know now what are the implications, but as far as we know, there are many buses that are traveling from Angola, such as Macon Transport. Those buses, they are driving here in Namibia across. They are transporting passengers for years now within our country and our neighboring country, Angola, but they are just fueling in Angola. When they come here, they don't fuel here. There are some also consideration that we have got the Namibian vehicles that sometimes go into operation in Angola, being the government vehicles, being private of those individuals that are visiting families in Angola. They go with their vehicles. When they go with their vehicles, they fill up there in Angola. But still, they come back to Namibia, their vehicles are still doing the same. So there is no problem. So those are some of the consideration that now we are taking into account, and see how best now we can at least see, what are the options that can work, because we are also considering assisting our government, not just necessarily by a result of demand, but to find some alternatives, because we know the economy performance is not just doing well, not only for Nigeria but for the world, especially now coming to this war that is now going on, especially between Russia and Ukraine. So it has a negative impact, globally. So therefore, as Nabta, we are not just there for making money, or we are not just there for, decoration. We are there taking things into seriousness, especially when it comes to the issues that are affecting the Namibian society.
Before we continue with the interview, we just want to go for a short commercial break. Do stay tuned. Mr. Nakathingo, you mentioned some relief measures that you want introduced apart from the Angolan solution, the subsidies and so on. Could you elaborate what what it could entail. If you're saying a subsidy for taxi drivers or for operators, what would it be, or a subsidy for the consumers or the customers?
Well, you know, that is still things that we are now taking into consideration, and it is still under discussion. That we are saying we are taking any consideration in a form of relief. So when we talk about funding or subsidizing the public transport sector, you know, transport operator means either a bus owner or bus driver, taxi owner or a taxi driver. Those are people that we call transport operators. So now, coming to the consideration of funding, you know, the government can consider, if it feels that, yes, it is true that this sector has been suffering a lot. Remember, we have got long distance operators that have been now, their service has been halted. There was a time during the lockdown where the bus operators has not been operating. So then when they resume with operation, they are operating on a half capacity, transporting passengers in a half capacity. What does that mean? You know, if, say for instance, the bus carrying a capacity of 27 passengers, it has been forced to carry only 14 passengers. So it is so huge. And if you calculate the loss or the income, you can see that really, you know, they're just rendering service to the passengers for free. So those are the things that we are considering. And remember also that those members who are operating on a long distance, they are operating, they are having some payment, payment fee that they pay in the form of MDC, mass distance charges, called logbook. They pay per kilometer. Now, driving from Windhoek to Katima is close to 1,000 kilometers on a half capacity with a fleet bus carrying with 65 seating capacity. Now you are forced to carry only 32 or 35 or so passengers. Now the whole distance you are traveling. So the kilometers are calculating, but there is no profit. So those are the things that we are taking into consideration. That's why I say we are going to approach the government. We have got strategic approach, not only a mere talking, but we have got the facts. So also the taxis, removing some passengers, it is also really negatively affecting, has affected the business. So that's why we are now at that level to say we are going to discuss with the government to see how best the government can now at least consider subsidizing the public transport sector as first option, or either to give some certain grants like they did before. But as I said, to give the grant to the public might be an expensive exercise. So, but yeah, we are looking at that. So once we know outlined and you know what are the amount of funding or subsidy that we are looking at, we will be announcing that to the public, and we will still let you know on that.
Thank you for joining us on the Evening Review.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for tuning in. Good night.